how to open up the Google Colab notebooks, as well as some of the very, very basics of how to interact with them. If you've never opened one before, that's totally fine. This is the starting place for that. So imagine that you want to start one completely from scratch. This is for some assignments you have, or maybe you're just working on your own. From any web page in your browser, what you type is colab.research.google.com, and the link will also be provided to you in class. Here you'll see a bunch of the previous notebooks that you've opened, or you can go to New Notebook, and if you click on this, you get a brand new, fresh notebook from which you can start typing. It'll have some untitled here, but you could do this here. You could just edit the name of it. You could do My Notes or whatever you want to call it. And then right in here, you could start typing x equals 10 and run the cells if you want. There's another way, however, to interact with stuff that you will probably be using in this class, and that is through the I don't know why that turned on. The other way that you'll wind up interacting with the Google Notebooks is by opening them from the classroom page. So here I just have some random classroom page. This is probably not the one you're going to be using. This is just something I set up for these videos. And if you go to classwork, you may see your assignments here. So I have one here called Learning the Colab Environment. And if you open it up, there will be a link here. Now, I'm the teacher, so I don't see exactly what you're seeing, but you'll see something like this. And if you click on this, it should open the Colab notebook for you to edit. There may be a splash page that says, do you want to open this as a Colab notebook? But I'm sure you can figure out that part yourself. Okay, when you click on that, it will go ahead and open the notebook itself. This one is called Learning the Colab Environment. For the remainder of this video, I'm going to have one called Learning the Colab Environment Edits for editing because I want to save this pristine one, this original one, for classroom work. Okay. So this is what we have now. This is the this is learning the Colab environment for editing, and now I will start to walk you through this. So the first thing you'll notice when you come to this, you can kind of click on these different blocks, if you will, where there's some text sometimes. Sometimes it looks like there's things that you can edit in there. These are called cells. Now, as I go through that, much of the text here is going to explain what I'm talking about, so it should be easier for you to come back and review this. Now, these cells can either run Python code or contain normal text, that is like text that you have like this, and you can format it with bold, or in class we'll show you how to do italics or bullet points. Now in the cell below, not this is just formatted to look like a cell, but in this cell down here, I want you to type the following: x equals 10, print x. You can type x equals 10, you hit enter, and you tip print x. Okay. Now nothing happens, and you can move around amongst the cells and you'll see that nothing's really happening. And this is because typing out Python code doesn't actually do anything yet. You have to run, or the term is also called execute. You've got to execute the Python code, and you can do this one of a few different ways. The one I tend to do is if you're in the cell, and you'll notice that my cursor is clicking here, you can either hit the Shift and Enter key, which runs the cell and advances you to the next cell, or you hit Control and Enter, and it runs the cell and does not advance you. So I'm actually going to do Control and Enter. And you'll see this little thing starts spinning. It may take like a few seconds the first time you run it, and then after that it'll be much faster. And now we see this 10 has appeared at the bottom. If I were to go back up here and I was to do Shift and Enter, it jumps down to the next cell, and you'll see that it's also run the one at the top. There are a few other ways you can run a cell. You can go to the top menu to runtime. You can click on this. This will bring up the drop-down menu. And then you can click on run the focused cell or run all, depending on what you want to do. So I have to put my cursor here. I go up to runtime. I do run the focused cell, and it executes the cell. I could also do run all, which would run the entire notebook, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Now, the other way you can run a cell is if you move your cursor over to the left-hand side, you'll see this little play button, this arrow pointing to the left. And if you click on it, you'll get, it'll run the cell again, and you see the 10 print up. So in addition to watching this video, you should go through this notebook and try all of these just to see what works best for you. I tend to do Shift Enter or Control Enter on each cell. I just get used to the hotkeys. Okay, now you can add, delete, or edit these cells. Edit cells that you may have already come across that may be already programmed up for you when you open the notebook. So let's talk about how to add a cell. You can either mouse over a cell, and if you hold your cursor near the top of the cell, you'll see these two options, add code and add text. And if you move your mouse down towards the bottom, you'll see again, plus text, plus code for adding text or adding code. So what I'd like you to do is make a text cell above this one, and then make a code cell below and type print hello world. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a text cell above. I click on plus text. During the class, you'll learn what all this is, but for now, I'm just going to type, I have added a text cell, and if I hit Shift Enter, it now takes up the whole thing. I can also, it added another one here. When I did Shift Enter, it added one before it. I'm also going to add a code cell down here. And here I'm going to type this, print, open parentheses, quote, hello world, and then the quote and the close parentheses. Print, quote, hello world. I'll give it an exclamation point because I'm very excited. I hit Shift Enter, and I get the output hello world. Okay. So I added some text above, and then I added some text below, or a code below this. And again, you can just mouse over these around the middle, and you'll see these options pop up. Now, if you want to delete a cell, there's a few ways you can do it. You can mouse over it and then right-click on it. You bring up these options. You can select Delete Cell, and we're going to do this with these two down here, or you can go up to Edit, and I'll show you how to do that. So for this one right here, I'm going to click on this, and if I right-click, I can do Delete Cell. I can also, when I'm in here, there's also a little garbage here for Delete Cell. So I'm going to just do the right-click Delete Cell to get rid of it. For this one down here, I'm going to go to Edit on the top of the menu, bring up the drop-down menu, and then click on Delete Selected Cells. So I go to Edit, and then I am going to do Delete Selected Cells. And then that cell is gone. If you want to try editing a code that has text or code in it, you can just put your cursor in the cell and hit the Enter button. Depending on your browser, it may actually just go ahead and start editing it anyways. So let's try editing these two cells below. We're going to fix them both. I'm going to put my cell here, my cursor. It goes right into edit mode. This is where I'm typing. This is what's going to appear. We want to fix this to see if there are any incorrectly spelled words. And we see over here that this has been spelled quite incorrectly. So I'll fix that, get rid of some of those extra R's, hit Shift Enter, and it goes ahead and advances to the next one. Same thing here. I'm going to click here. I've got my cursor in here, and then you can't see me do this, but I hit the Enter key. And now I'm in edit mode for this. And I go ahead and now I can do Shift Enter, and it'll print this to the screen, except that I've now fixed the spelling. Now, sometimes you may want to restart everything in case something goes wrong. The way you can do this is if you go to runtime up here, you click the drop down and you get something called restart runtime. Sometimes you may want to restart and run everything from scratch. It's up to you depending on the situation, but at the very least, if you've kind of like broken your Python environment, you can restart the runtime. Maybe you're clicking on things and stuff isn't working, your cursor isn't showing up again. The restart runtime will get you out of that. Now, when you restart runtime, all of your code that you typed will still be there. It's just that Python may not remember everything, so you have to like run stuff over again. So we're going to try this example here where we're actually going to break Python. By typing print equals 20, it means I've overwritten the print statement and print will no longer work. So looks like I did this before. I'm going to run this again. And you're going to see this error statement where print does not work. It is not callable anymore. So now in every cell afterwards, print won't work. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to runtime and I'm going to go to restart runtime. It says, are you sure you want to do this? Yes, because all of our code will still stay there. I'm going to get rid of that. And now we're going to edit this. So instead of print equals 10, it's x equals 10. I run this, and now I don't have that error anymore. Sometimes you may accidentally break your code by putting it in an infinite loop. We're going to learn more about what that means in this class, but for now, I've just given you an infinite loop, meaning your code is going to run forever. So to do this, there's a couple ways you can do this. Up at the top menu at runtime, one of the options is interrupt execution. We're going to try that. And then you can fix your cell to fix your infinite loop. The other thing you can do is when you're running, you'll see that this play button turns into a stop button. So if I run this cell here, it keeps going and going and going. It will actually never finish. And those of you who are familiar with coding may recognize why that is. It just keeps going while I is less than 0, and since I is less than 1, and since I is always 0, this goes on forever and ever. And so I would come up here to runtime. I would come down here to interrupt execution. I click on that. I don't know why it keeps going to that. And it breaks it. Here, I may choose to restart the runtime. Sometimes interrupting stuff can mess things up. I'm also going to try running it again, but instead of breaking it from runtime up here, I'm going to just press this little stop button, and that usually works. Sometimes this stop button actually gets into a state where you can't even click on it. And again, this drop-down menu for runtime usually is a pretty good one. Okay, so if you've done all that, just go down here if you want. And then what I've asked you to do is add a text cell that says all finished. And hopefully this made sense to you. You may want to review it a few times. And of course, if you have any questions, please come find me and talk to me. I'm happy to help out and explain any of this to you whenever you want. All right, good luck with this.